Hello and thanks for joining us as ASA roving reporter bravely enters the podcast universe. I'm Julia Smuts Louw, and apparently this is my radio voice. We talk to local animation legend Mike Scott about his uniquely self-defined career path, his new Bru and Boegie short, and the importance of knowing what you love about your work. So, Mike Scott. So, should we talk about your background to begin with? You did some fine art and then a degree in business, which must have made your parents extremely confused.
I was super stoked on art at high school. I got 100% for my art. So I was like, I'm going to be the best artist. And I started studying fine arts. And I was just so amped for everything. I wanted to do exhibitions, and my lecturers, I think, just thought I was maybe a bit too over-eager. And they said, no, you got to do life drawing. And which was actually, they were right, but I was just had stars in my eyes, and I thought I'm just going to do comics and real high art right away. And I did a business degree at Bond University, so now I've got a business of communications degree. And then, during the time I started freelancing, doing cartoons for magazines and various things. And then I kind of got into animation. A girl that I went to Rhodes University with was working for John Flismus, who's the comedian. Mm. And she said, he's got a really funny idea. Why don't you come do some cartoons for that? So I was like, yeah, sure. So we sat down. His idea was Josie Zoo, which is all these animals in a Johannesburg zoo who they just are like, they're kind of funny takes on South African characters. There's like a white rhino who's endangered. This gay African male who's quite overzealous. There's an Indian meerkat who's always trying to sell rare white pythons, trying to shill them. So it was quite adult humor when we did the pilot. Mm. And before, no one even told me, but then someone said, dude, I saw your Josie Zoo on TV. And he had taken it to Red Pepper. It's been through like a development phase, turned it into quite a watered down kid show.
So was that originally just a pilot? Yeah,
it was just like a 4-minute thing. Mm-hmm. It was very funny that John Flismus voiced. But then I went away on an Africa Animated 2 course in Durban, which was sponsored by UNESCO. That it was 15 animators from Africa that got to learn about animation. And someone said, I saw your cartoon on the TV, and it was in full color now. So I got back to Joburg and said, like, can I animate on the show? And they said, sure. So I just learned by trial, by fire, that way. Not really great animation at all, but to start, cut your teeth on that stuff. And I interned at Art Attack Studios in Joburg. Made them a lot of coffee, scanned their pictures in, traced, and then I started getting full episodes to do. We were animating like 6-minute episode by myself every week or two.
Oh my goodness.
And so it's just like flat out panic, but you just have to put stuff out.
Was that 2D or cutout? Or
it was 2D. It was a combination of 2D and cutout. So it was all digital, mostly digital. So like we'd have characters rigged, we'd have to like draw backgrounds for each new episode. But the scripts are really good. It was Stephen Francis from Adam and Eve who wrote the scripts.
Right.
And Russell, I forget his surname, but really good voice artist who did a lot of the voices. And the scripts were awesome, but we didn't do them justice with that. Anyway, that was on ETV every Saturday morning. Then I went to Comic-Con in 2006.
You got in.
Flip. It was a different story now. Now I think it's crazy. I think you got to just wait in lines for hours now. But just by chance, I kind of went into a room and they were playing the Nickelodeon Shorts cartoons. Mm-hmm. And they played Penward's Adventure Time pilot. And then I was so stoked. I was just so inspired. And then I gave them a Bru and Boegie book afterwards, actually. And I came back and decided that I want to do cool animation. But I wouldn't go to Comic-Con now, actually. I think it's just, it's got too big, I think.
Oh, so you were like the Burning Man level 1 entrant to Comic-Con.
I went on my ace to the States.
Wow. The picture I get is, I don't know if it's just 2020 hindsight, but everything you've done seemed really deliberate, really goal-orientated, and sort of eyes on the prize the whole way.
Yeah.
Is that true, or is it just, does it look that way
Some
from
of the
here?
stuff, like very, some of the goldfish videos, I definitely knew that they'd get a good response.
Well, let's talk a bit about that before we maybe
Okay.
summarize your life philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after I quit my job, I decided to make my own show, Happy Land. I was like, this is possible. I can do the whole thing myself. I moved to Plet, and I just I said, the show's going to sell. I'm going to make my own thing. And then sooner or later, I started running out of bucks, and no one was buying the show. So I was working as a runner for art department, and it was super hard work. They were filming Crusoe.
In Plet?
In Plet, yeah. Some of the beach, there was an American film company filming some of the beach scenes for Robinson Crusoe series.
That's good luck.
Yeah, but I mean, I was at the time, before I got the job, I was passing out CVs, or I just was like wanting to get any job. I would have worked in an internet cafe. And then a buddy said, do you want to do
You were
the
staying
film
with your
crew thing?
parents?
At my parents' house, yeah.
Right.
So it's a holiday house that's mostly empty.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did that job, and then just by doing the job, I thought, you know what, I can do animation. Like, not everyone can do animation, and that kind of helped me to see that that's actually is super valuable, you know, if you can make your own stuff. So just on a cold, like, I took a chance, and I was listening to a lot of Goldfish's albums when I was driving around delivering scripts and stuff. So late one night, because I'd get home buggered and have just about an hour or two of energy to make food before I dose and wake up for the next day. Yeah, so then I did like 8-second video clip of a fish walking to one of Goldfish's songs and sent it like late at night, and I got a response quite quickly from Dave, one of the guys from Goldfish. He's like, yeah, this is cool. What do we do from here? And I was like, well, I'll do the whole video. He said, how much? And I was like, 10K. He's like, sweet, let's do it. You know? So that was my first Goldfish video gig.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Was it more work than you expected?
No, it was. I kind of because I was so like in the work mode. I figured out exactly how many seconds I needed to do per day.
Right.
And just being able to work from home and spend time with my cat was awesome. Because I was leaving my cat every day for this job. So it was like pure gold for me. I was so stoked just to be able to work from home. But yeah, so that was cool. And I really enjoyed that, because I find if you're pitching someone an idea just out of the blue, you already got quite a bit of leverage, because it's your own take on things. You know, it's not someone saying, can you like put a pitch together for this, because it's already got a constructed mold or whatever. But if it's just a blank page, you can really do whatever. And if they're on board, that's great, because you've kind of set the tone already. If they're not, it's all right, you know, you haven't lost anything. So that was cool. So it was like my own thing. I knew the rules already. It was, great job, and it's still one of the coolest jobs I've done.
And that's been a really happy marriage from there on out.
Yeah, I think for both of us, like, we both got a lot of mileage out of that, which is awesome. You know, I got like a lot of mileage out of those things, and they led on to other jobs. And yeah, for them, I think they got these like cool characters. Apparently people still come up to them saying, dude, like, I really loved that video. And people say when they hear the music, they can't not think of the Goldfish walking to the beat and all the crazy characters. I hope they're probably earning revenue from that, you know. So for them, it's not only just like a commissioned job, but there's bucks.
Now, with your business degree, did you ever think of adding a royalty clause for yourself?
No, I've often thought about discussing it now. And in fact, I'm focusing on my YouTube channel now, because I just got a small royalty payment, which wasn't big at all, but it was enough to think, like, actually, I could invest in myself and try and make it work. So that's why I did this latest Bru and Boegie short as well. And I'm doing another short to try and build that audience, you know. So
should we talk about Bru and Boegie a little bit?
Yeah.
I know I first encountered it when we were all entering Story Lab together. And you had this idea that you actually seemed quite shy about, but kind of in love with. But as you described, it was just about two men with their hands in their underpants.
That's right.
And we were like, wow, yeah, that could be cool. And thinking it's, just like the germ of an idea. And then lo and behold, you came to Story Lab with a whole professionally produced book just chock full of Bru and Boegie cartoons. And then that you'd obviously made over a period of years. And then like we all realized this is not just a little wild idea. It's a real passion for you.
Yeah. Yeah, Bru and Boegie, like... I think Pixar calls their early ideas ugly babies, because they are like, when ideas are young and stuff, anyone can shoot them down.
It really does describe Bru and Boegie.
Yeah.
I mean, physically.
Yeah, and you could say, it's two bald dudes in underpants, pointy legs, and none of them really have clearly defined personalities, even though they've grown into themselves. But at Varsity 2002, when I was studying fine arts, I went through a whole fairly existential crisis. And I just remember thinking, flip, if I started something now and just kept doing it over a number of years, I bet you in a few years I'd have like a whole thing with this golden thread running through it. And it's something that sometimes you think, I'll do that maybe next year. And I just thought, I'm just going to do it now. Whatever I draw now, I'm going to make like a committed decision to just keep doing that for the rest of my life. And like I hadn't really done anything like that before, taken anything seriously like that. So the first thing I did was Mike's Universe, which was me and this quite like spacey thing. And then I just felt, okay, that's cool, might be a little bit personal. And the second thing I did was Bru and Boegie, with these two dudes with their hands in their pants. The first comic I did is hanging in my brother's flat in Kenilworth, just down the road from here. And it's pretty hardcore. It's like there's a lot of nudity, and they're smoking like a huge joint, so...
What's that?
I actually don't know, but I drew it for some reason.
It's a mystical concept.
Yeah, you can cut that out if you like. Anyway, the first comics were pretty raw, but they got published in a South African comics magazine called Mamba Comics. Yeah, and I just thought, it doesn't matter what it is, I'm just going to keep doing these comics. So I did them, and I used to put them up on a webcomic, bruandboegie.com or .coza. And it was a regular thing, so then sooner or later I had a book. I've done a few animation tests. I've pitched Bru and Boegie many times. They always get shot down, which to me even like it makes me love them more. I've tried to shoehorn them into like, what we learn for writing is a good character. They got clear motivation, strengths and weaknesses. And every time I do it, they don't feel like Bru and Boegie anymore. They just feel like, two other characters. And the thing I like about them is they don't really know themselves, maybe, what they want, which is, to me, is more realistic characters, actually.
Well, you've got fairly good precedents in Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. But these two dudes, they've just got each other. They kind of ways for me just to express like ideas. So it is like a self-expression thing.
Are they your subconscious?
I think they are. They must be, yeah. I mean, like, they're obviously two parts of me. But I like that they're quite inactive and they don't do much, And I could do a whole... That
doesn't sound much like you.
It is, like, I think it is just the main thing I want to do. And I'm so precious about them that I won't take any creative input. For commissioned projects, you can get input from people and you can change a thing. But I just like that they're this pure entity that I just enjoy doing. It doesn't feel like work.
So they're like your spirit animals.
They're like my spirit animals.
You wouldn't want to compromise your spirit animals.
Yeah, and I've thought about even, there's a guy who's helping me with the Kickstarter.
Ah.
And even that, I'm thinking, I don't know if I should even bring money into the situation. It just somehow changes things somehow. So, so I'm kind of trying to figure out, I think I'll just keep doing Bru and Boegie stuff and see what happens.
So they got into Story Lab.
They got into Story Lab.
And something came out the other end called Dog Show with Cats.
Yes.
Which was pretty much entirely different except for the underpants.
Yeah. So that's right. The Disney compliance department had a big issue with underpants, and especially hands in pants, which is what Bru and Boegie do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we hit like an impasse. It was a long impasse, and I was saying this: the whole point of Bru and Boegie is they wear underpants. You know, well, it's one of the main. It's who they are, and they don't change for anybody. That's their spiel. And Disney said, you know, we can't have that. So I was prepared to kind of pull out of the whole thing completely, and then, but the better solution was to turn it into something else. And so we put out a short, and the characters, the dog and the cat, were with wearing underpants. It wasn't its own thing yet. So I feel like the short, even though it is a good short, and I try to avoid being too self-critical. They weren't their own thing yet. It was like half Bru and Boegie, half a dog and a cat living in the Karoo. But now through development, I think it's really turned into something amazing. It's a dog and a cat in a band. They don't wear underpants anymore, but they're in the Halloumi Desert, and they're trying to make. And there is a character called Mike, who's the band manager. He's a terrible band manager, but he wants to make the band the best band in the world. And the dog and the cat are along for the ride, and super overconfident manager booking them like weird gigs. It's kind of a desert similar to the Karoo, with Route 66, weird character elements. And it's a music show, so I get to bring some of like the Goldfish animated music video stuff into there. And it's totally separate from Bru and Boegie, and I've made a conscious decision to try avoid almost any overlap. There'll naturally be some because it's coming from me, but I do feel like the energies have disentangled from each other, and now they're happy to be their own thing. Yeah.
So that's in development at the moment.
Yes.
And you had one short actually air for Disney XD during the football Euro Cup, I think. Something
like that, yeah. But definitely for the dog show with Kat, I've handed off writing stuff. Like I create the show, and I'd say that these are the kind of stories I have in mind, and the characters, and I've got better at, writing bios for characters to make them fairly distinct. And the idea, I think, is so you can tell a writer, this is what the character is, and they can get an idea of what the character would and wouldn't do, and what are the underlying wants and needs and all that kind of stuff. But Greg Cameron wrote the script, and I'm so much happier that I just handed it over. I know Greg's sensibility, and he's a musician. I just far prefer him to do his art in that process, because I know for myself, I start getting irritated if people trying to get their fingers in my pie, and I'm like, just let me do my thing, why have you hired me? Let me do my vibe. So that's worked really well. And for the Bru and Boegie short, I handed it over to a Nigerian guy who does backgrounds, and didn't give him, I gave him a little bit of input in the beginning, but just let him do his thing.
Is that Olubunmi John?
Olubunmi John, yeah. And so the more I can find people who just have maybe similar sensibility, but I do like, if it works, just letting someone do their thing. And I'm like a bit of a control freak with the creative side, so sometimes I do get a bit hectic, but I'm trying to get better.
Do you think you'd ever hand over writing of Bru and Boegie, your special love child?
I don't know. I still like it as, for the latest short I didn't write a script at all. I just kind of did a one-take voice thing, and that's very much, it's not outcomes-based objectives for Bru and Boegie. It's very much enjoying the process. Whereas if you're dealing with the clients, they sometimes want to see a vertical slice. What's it going to look like, and what are you aiming for? And then you got to look into your crystal ball and try look forward into the future. It'd be nice.
Try very hard not to panic them by showing them an animatic.
Yeah, but it would be. I was talking to someone recently about this. If you could just say, look, I got a good feeling about it. Just trust me. Let's see where it goes. It would be great if you could do that, and maybe that is the way to do things.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of why pitching skills are important, I guess. And it was something I used to be really, really reluctant about. and then got more and more comfortable with it. And in the end, I think got more comfortable pitching than writing.
Yeah, it is something. I wonder if I sometimes see them as two different things. That the pitch is almost, it doesn't have to relate to the final product at all. Just make the pitch cool. And there are ways, I think, to make the pitch like super cool and get someone really excited. And then they kind of sign on for that. And you go, okay, now let's actually think about what we want to make. Which it shouldn't be like that at all. You should go, it should be related to the final product you want to make.
I think sometimes the difficulty creeps in where you're not exactly sure what you were excited about versus what whoever decided to get on board was excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a great talk at in Miami that people talked about like finding a partner or an investor or a network for your show. And they said you've got to be like really upfront about what the core things you like about your show. And to be fair, I thought I was being clear about Bru and Boegie in the beginning. They wear underpants. But if we had that like a frank exchange in the beginning, I love that they wear underpants. I love that they don't change that they do that.
But about the underpants though.
Yeah, and if that comes later on the line. So they said you got to make sure like these are the core things that you're not going to change. But if the partner doesn't like the same things you do about the show, you maybe not such a great match. I mean, and they can say, this is the best show in the world, we love it so much, but you almost got to say, well, what do you like about it? And if it's not the core things, and the example they gave, they said, like, I love the presentation on the binder for the pitch document, like that binding is amazing. You might go, well, that's not kind of my favorite thing about it.
So just talking a little bit about music, which is your other great passion, and I know you like to involve that in your stories a lot, and sometimes in collaboration with your brother Dave, who's the frontman of Kiffness.
Yeah.
Was that ever a potential career path for you? Was it a tough decision to kind of go with one? Or did you always think, somewhere down the line I'm going to combine them and I won't have to choose?
That's what I was hoping for. I remember when, like, a young girl saying to me, what do you do? And I go, like, I play music and I also do animation. She said, but you have to do one. What do you do? I was like, I do both. She's like, you're going to have to choose at some point. I was like, it's not a choice. You just do what you want. But at some point, it was quite tough it was like two full-time careers. And then as the band was doing well, you travel to different cities, and me and my brother, even though we love each other, we do get on each other's nerves sometimes if we're spending so much time together. It was tough sometimes, and I'm still trying to do animation, but you're living out of a suitcase doing a gig, and the actual, it's not just the gig you play, but there's a time before going to the venue and then packing up and getting back to the studio. So I decided to pull out of the band, and I could still dig to do music, but animation definitely like one for now.
Do you feel it's important to keep something aside as a hobby that doesn't have so much pressure on it and doesn't become work?
Yeah, that stuff definitely does take on a different quality when it becomes about deadlines and pleasing a client. The best way to ruin a hobby is to turn it into a job. Yeah, it's kind of why I got Bru and Boegie as like my own little thing, which I just like doing. As a hobby now, I'd maybe play a bit of PlayStation for downtime. Or
just leave your brain at the doorstep.
Yeah, just like really switch off. And I'm trying to get into the industry as well. I think that could be like the next evolution. I'd really... And the games I go back to all the time are these old school LucasArts adventure games. Sam & Max Hit the Road. Full Throttle. I think what was so good about them, apart from the beautiful visuals, was the writing was so good. And I've just replayed again Day of the Tentacle Remastered. I played another remake. I'm trying to remember what it was now. But I play those games over and over, and the writing is so good. Grim Fandango I'm playing now. And this, you get it's a proper story, like the shoot 'em ups and stuff. Once you've done it, and I don't think there's any replay value. But good writing in video games goes like a long way.
I thought Monkey Island was just the pinnacle of that.
It's great, and it's timeless. It really elevates it to something else.
So that sort of 16-bit that it's sort of been a running thread in your work. Is that nostalgia? Do you think that will mean anything to kids coming up now?
I think so.
You think it's a cycle? They'll go back to the games because they grew up with your shows.
Yeah, we were talking about nostalgia the other day. Like, people do pine for the old days. So I knew when I did this one Pixel music video for Goldfish, like, people would dig it, and that's the one that got 6 million views. It references a lot of old school video games. The Pixel stuff, I don't know if kids... I mean, when we did Moosebox with Nickelodeon, which is all in that 16-bit style, they were wondering if younger kids would get it, but apparently they totally latched onto it. But it does, it's like I call it like an 8-bit bug or a pixel bug, and sometimes it just bites super hard for me, and I have to do a pixel project.
But you said it's quite time consuming.
It's a total pain in the butt. It really takes so much longer than just normal animation.
Just to come back to Moosebox quickly, so the 16-bit style was one worry for the focus groups. I got quite a kick out of the fact that you can hear an American actor saying the word "kif" in there. Was the South African humour another discussion point?
You know what? When we did the Pillow Alessandra course,
yes.
I remember she suggested that the colloquial humour, is that the right word? Colloquial.
That is a word.
Yeah. But that, to keep it in, to not change it for an international audience, because it does give it like a local flavour. In the dog show thing, we got Bry's and Kif, and there is a local stuff. There's like Bro McKiff. So I like keeping that in, It's just also maybe what sets it apart. And I think you can feel when it's forced. If like, I start doing cultural appropriation now and I start putting Zulu references, and I don't know anything about that. And it's something I've been battling with years, is how do you tell a story, how can I tell an authentic story through South African eyes without trying to see South Africa through Western eyes, like just do stuff about animals. Like, no, that's not my real life. I'm not in the bush. And it's like more subtle things,
And there's so many types of being South African that you don't know if you're allowed to tell only your own story, or are you allowed to tell someone else's story? We all suffer from a bit of multiple personality disorder here.
Totally. And that's why, like, Bru and Boegie, I can do that because it's my humor. And I don't know what someone in the States might think, like, what is it? But I'm getting better at just doing what I want. Mm-hmm. And being prepared to say that if they don't like it, like, let's not do this thing together.
One more question for you.
Yes.
So you are colorblind.
Yes.
Red-green colorblind.
Yeah.
What color is this?
That is purple.
What color is that?
You can follow Mike Scott and his KIF doings at www.mikescottanimation.com. Thanks for joining us for this Roving Reporter podcast. We hope to see some of you at Discop Johannesburg coming up this November 2nd. If you'd like to sign up for an ASA membership, please visit www.animationsa.org.